Hello everyone, my name is Michael. And I am the Crafty Crocheter, and this is the second episode of a series of crocheting videos on this channel, so welcome. And I am going to go over the basic tools of crocheting that are used by basically everyone who crochets, including myself. And the ones that I personally use, you may opt not to use them, but I thought I would share them with you. And so there are pretty much three basic things that all crocheters would need to know when they start a project or they're getting into crocheting, and I will discuss this in better detail throughout this video. So those three things are going to be, first, the yarn weights used, and these range from 1 to 7, 1 being super fine to 7 being the chunky yarn. Number 4 is the medium worsened yarn, and that's the most commonly used type of yarn when working on crocheting or knitting or any type of fiber crafts. And then the second, number 2, is the type of fibers used for yarn, and these can be natural or synthetics or novelty yarns. And the third thing is going to be the hook sizes used for crocheting. And again, I will go into details with all of those. Alright, so first things first, there are 3 types of fibers that are used for yarn. Number 1 is going to be natural or animal hair, and the naturals can include hemp or cotton, cotton being the most common of the two. Number 2 is going to be from animal hair, and that's like wool or alpaca, angora, silk, cashmere, and so forth. The ones I've seen in my local craft stores are like wool and cotton, or like an acrylic wool blend. And then the third part is and then the third type are the second or synthetics, and that's like acrylic and rayon and polyester. And again, you're going to see acrylic in a lot of yarns in your store, or polyester. Mostly it's going to be acrylic, but sometimes you'll see rayon too, or nylon. And then the third one are novelty yarns, and these are like boucle, or I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, it's a French term, and then Chanel, and these are really tricky to work with. And again, novelty yarns aren't really as predominant in the retail sector, because I don't see those very often. I guess you have to either order those from a specialty store or go online, or go to a specialty yarn store. But novelty yarns are not really suited for beginners, because they're tricky to work with. So I haven't worked with them personally, but from what I've read, they're kind of tricky to work with. So I usually stick with either natural or synthetics. And then there are different types of yarn weights. Again, those range from 1 to 7. 1 is the superfine, which is kind of like a thinner material. It's usually used for like socks or baby socks or something like that. If you're working with something that's of a delicate nature, because it's really thin. And the crochet hook sizes that are associated with that you can use safely, well, I'm not saying safely, but are recommended, are a size B to an E. Number 2 is the fine, which is again used for more delicate projects. Of course, I haven't used fine. I haven't used a number 2 as of yet. And the recommended hook sizes for number 2 weight yarn is an E to a G. Number 3 is a light, which I have used before. Again, I have rather large hands, so it's kind of hard for me to work with that particular yarn, but I have done it. And light is also called lightly worsened yarn. You might hear that term, like worsened yarn and lightly worsened. And for number 3, the recommended hook sizes for that is a G, and H, because of its delicate nature. It's thinner than a number 4. And then again, I preluded to number 4, which is the medium or worsened yarn. And number 4 is the most common yarn weight that you will see in the retail sector or at your local craft store. And the recommended hook sizes for number 4 is an H to a K. And next is the number 5, which is a bulky weight yarn, which is a little bit bulkier than the number 4. And those are used for, like, if you want like a thicker origami project, which I have done in the past. the hook sizes that are recommended for number 5 is a K to an M. Number 6 is the super bulky weight yarn, which is what I've shown. Number 6 is a super bulky yarn, and the recommended sizes for that is an M or higher. And of course, and then the final one is a number 7, which is a real chunky yarn, which is used for like chunkier afghansing projects. And the only recommended hook size that I am aware of that works for this particular yarn is there's not a letter that I'm aware of for this, but it's a 25mm hook, which is like the biggest one that I have seen so far that is known in the crocheting world. So I will go over the the hooks that I have in my possession and the tools I use, and I'll show you how to figure out what type of yarn you're going to use, the gauges and so forth. So look forward to that. Hi everyone. Alright, so here is my array of crochet hooks that I use. I don't use all of these per se, but most of these I do use, and they go all the way from a B, which is this one here, all the way to the 25mm crochet hook. But I usually use either a G, H, or I, or J. Sometimes I use a K, and then for bigger projects I'll go up to either a 9 or a 10mm. So, and I also have other crochet hooks too that I have used in the past, and I'll go over those as well. So stay tuned. Alright, as I alluded earlier, here are the crochet hooks. This one is a B2. We can see that kind of into the camera. There you go. This is a B2, which is kind of like got a really small. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's a really small hook, and I don't use these very. This is more for like lace work or anything really delicate. But these came with a set that I got off of Amazon, and I go from a C, and I sometimes use an F, which is right here. An F, which is a 4mm, and I do use these sometimes for origami, like if it's like a finer yarn, which is not quite a 4, not quite a 3. Then any H, which is this one. This is a common one. I've used this a lot in all my projects. It's an H, and I usually use this for like a 4mm, like for a weight 4 yarn, which is pretty good. I also use I and J, which are slightly larger. K's. This one's a K. I don't know if you can really see that. This is a K size hook. This is my first K hook I purchased when I created a origami axolotl for one of my friend's nephews. It's got a one handle on it. It's not quite as ergonomic. It's not quite as ergonomic as these ones. I usually use these a lot because they're ergonomic. And if you especially got larger hands like I do, it's easier to grab. You don't get your thumb doesn't get fatigued like you would say with this type, which is an old style. And when I first started crocheting, I did use this type of crochet hook, and H was the most popular size that I could find at the time. I mean, it does the job, but after a while, when you're creating a bunch of granny squares and everything, your thumb does get fatigued and your hands cramp up, which is why I went to the ergonomic style crochet hook. And then here are the larger ones, like this is an M, this is a 9mm, again, same design. It's real easy to grab onto. And then these ones here, these bluish green ones, these came in a set as well, but I only got it because I wanted to get the 25mm hook, which is the biggest one you can get, and this is usually used for a chunky 7 weighted yarn, but I haven't tackled that sort of project as of yet, so when I do, I will use this hook. I also have other ergonomic hooks that I use as well. This is an N, again, for a thicker yarn. Again, there's your thumb rest, and it's easier to grab. And that is it for the crochet hooks to use. Hopefully you'll choose the right one that's for you. You can go with an older, like I don't want to say older, but like a standard style, or you can go with something more ergonomic like this one, or another variation of an ergonomic hook. So whatever hooks you want to use is totally up to you. So alright, thank you. And here are some of the other tools that I use. These are commonly used in crocheting. I mean, not everyone uses these, but most of these I do use to my advantage, especially, okay, so I'll go over the first one, the stitch markers. These stitch markers are a lifesaver. say for example you're working on an Afghan or a project and you need to mark off the beginning of a round or mark off the start of a corner. These things are great because you can just clip it, set it, and forget it. And then these ones are, I mean, you can use other stitch markers too. I've seen people use yarn, like little pieces of yarn to start their rounds, or mark off where their rounds start and end, or like for a corner of an Afghan. But these ones, it's like a little clip. You just clip it like that. I don't know if you can see it very well. Let's see if you can see it. I mean, you can use bobby pins. I've seen people use bobby pins, or you can use, as long as you know, if you mark where your start of your rounds are or start of your corners are, then you're fine. But they do make these in larger sizes too. I've seen them at my local craft store. I almost thought about getting some, but I thought, no, I got a bunch of these that came with these other crochet hook kits that I got through Amazon, so these serve me great. So the next one, again, these crochet hook sets that I purchased, they come with a little container of these yarn needles. I mean, they range anything from like wool or something finer, like, and you use like a needle if you're weaving in ends in an Afghan or a origami project or something like that, so you can tuck it away and not see the yarn that's being sewed within. So these are great. I recommend you get yourself a set of these yarn needles. Get one with a larger eye, so that way you can see where you're threading, so you don't have to worry about trying to pinch the ends and go in. All right, the next one, this is a measuring tape. Again, this came with one of my crochet hook kits, but this is pretty good if you want to measure, like, say how big your project is going, or just for measuring purposes. I mean, so I don't use this all the time because I just go by multiples when I'm doing Afghans, but it is handy to have in case you want to make your project larger or smaller. You'll have a indicator. Next, and this one is my absolute favorite tool. This is a stitch counter or a row counter, and it's kind of, and this goes like a ring around your finger. When I first started using these, I would put these around my middle finger, but then I found that when I was crocheting that the hook would hit this, and sometimes, and the buttons are so close together, like this reset button right here. I don't know how good you can see that. This reset button, this resets your entire tally, and this is the button you click for each row or stitch that you complete. But like I said, it's much easier for me to put this on my pointer finger, again, so that way I'm not accidentally hitting the reset button with my crochet hook and resetting it to 0 after all the hard work I've done. But there are other different styles too, but I got these as a set of 7 from Amazon. I think they were like about $10 to $12 a bag. Came like a set of 7. They're different colors for different projects, and they just have little snaps in place. And then next are straight pins. These are great for origami projects. Say if you're got a mark where you got to stitch like ears or nose or eyes or any body parts on an origami. So these are great for that purpose. So I recommend getting some push pins, especially ones with these ball type of pins, so they're easier to see and easier to insert and take out. And the best friend that you could have in any crafting project is a good pair of scissors. These ones I got at Walmart for $15, and these are really sharp because the one day I accidentally snipped a part of my finger, and it was not fun. It was not a good day. So get yourself a great pair of scissors. These are about $15 at Walmart, and I think some other craft stores carry these too. I mean, like I said, and those are the tools that I normally use when I crochet, when I'm doing crochet projects. So I'm sure there are other ones, but they're not as commonly used in my arsenal. And of course, the most important item you need for any crocheting project or knitting project is, of course, yarn. Without yarn, you can't really create anything. So when you get a skein of yarn, which it is called a skein, it actually says that right there. It's a skein of yarn, and some of these yarns come with recommendations for projects. Say for this one, this is a Big Twist. This is Joann's name brand, and I particularly like this design because I am thinking of making a matching hat and scarf with this. I got another skein for this purpose, and I went into weight earlier, and right here on the right on the label, it usually tells you what weight level, not level, weight number it is. Usually you'll see a 4 on most yarns because it's the most common, and it'll say medium. And then it'll also give you gauges of per square inch, whether you're knitting or crocheting. Like for knitting, it says it recommends to use a US 8 5 millimeter crochet pair of knitting needles, and it tells you a 4x4 square is 18 stitches across for your knitting stitches, and for here for crocheting, it tells you the recommended size, and for this size it's a US H8, which is again a common crochet hook size, or a 5 millimeter hook. And on this skein it says that it does 14 rows, which is a 4x4 inch square with 13 single crochets as the base. And some of these they do give you washing instructions. Like for this one it says machine washable, don't bleach it, lay it flat for your project, don't tumble dry it because it gets all wrinkled. It says you can do not iron it, or low irons does say do not tumble dry, and usually it'll tell you what material it is, and in this case it's 100% acrylic, which is you'll see with most yarns. And then also with this one, this is a number 5 yarn, which I am currently using for a scarf project that I'm doing. And then I believe this is a puzzle yarn. It's acrylic again. This is an acrylic yarn, but it's a slightly thicker yarn than a number 4 is. And then again, I'm going to go one more. This is a super bulky yarn. This is a little thicker than a number 5. And this one is a wool rayon acrylic blend. And I've used this for one of my recent crocheting projects for an Afghan, which turned out really great. The thing with wool or any kind of wool blend is when you're doing any like granny squares or crocheting an Afghan, for me, I learned that when you're doing squares and you want to wet block them, and it's recommended to put in cold water because of the wool, because you don't want any hot water, because warm water it'll shrink. So when you're working with this type of yarn and you're wet blocking, you'll want to use cold water and shampoo, because I read online that shampoo, because humans use shampoo to wash their hair, and since this is made of natural hair from sheep, it's basically the same principle as human hair. So you'll wet block and mix it with a shampoo and soak it for about 20 minutes for this type of yarn. And then this yarn, I made an Afghan with this yarn, and I'm currently working on a scarf with this yarn. But see how it says it's a number 4 weighted yarn? It's a number 4 weighted yarn, but if you look here, this is thinner than a 4, so this is really a 3. It's not a 4. So I don't know why this particular brand does not correct this, because a lot of people are going to think it's a number 4 and they're going to try to work it as a number 4, and it turns out it's a little bit trickier to use because it's thicker in some areas, and then when you go along it's thinner in some other areas. Again, just be wary of that. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of a tutorial slash learning course, I'm guessing. I'm not a certified crochet instructor. I'm just teaching you what I know, what I have experienced. So I hope that you learn from this and take it to heart. Or, I mean, there are numerous other channels out there, but I thought I would share myself and my experiences with crocheting. I think that's all I have for now, but I appreciate you viewing this video, and I hope to get some subscribers, and I will come out with a lot more videos. I'm getting some ideas churning in my brain of what other episodes I want to do, like for instance about going over basic stitches, and do like crocheting news and other crochet related tutorials or items. So I look forward to that. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them. Again, as a reminder, this is a place of positivity and creativity. Please, no negative comments or negativity at all, please, because we have enough negativity going on in this world right now. So, all right, take care of yourself and each other.